And the month of October is officially upon us. For some of you who are actually on your game, unlike me, you probably have already started your reading for the month of October, except actually technically I have started my reading for the month of October. I'm not necessarily going to talk about that book. I'll save it for the wrap up, but my month of October is already off to a good start. Already one book in the books officially, with hopefully more to come. I have a pretty ambitious, I'm not even going to call it this a TBR anymore. Well, I probably will in the title, but it's really more, these are the books that are on my radar for the month of October. But as we know, as is the case for many of us, I will probably deviate greatly from what I am looking at reading, at least to begin the month. So I'm gonna jump into that, but before I do, I'm gonna divide them up into probably two categories. So kind of adult thriller and kind of YA thriller. And because this is a month of October, I'm definitely going for more of a thriller horror vibe. So we'll see how that plays out next. So as far as the adult thrillers, I have got a few that I'll start with that I'm actually very, very interested in. A couple that I've been hanging on to for a little while, but I'm looking forward to hopefully jumping into these pretty soon. And one is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I think I've talked about this before, and this is a book that has been in the news this summer, mainly because of the thing that was going on with Riley Sager and Grady Hendrix. And so that created a little bit of drama in the book world. And so I am definitely looking forward to this one. As a horror fan, I've always been fascinated with the final girl concept. So that makes this book even extra exciting for me. Next up is one I'm excited about, The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. And this one, I actually watched an author interview with May Cobb, and I found this book initially interesting, and then the more I thought about it, well, frankly, the more interesting it became. And so I'll just read a little bit of the inside cover. The Hunting Wives share more than target practice, martinis, and bad behavior. In this novel of obsession, seduction, and murder. So there's a lot going on right there without even getting too deep into it. This sounds like a book that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna find very interesting, so definitely looking forward to jumping into The Hunting Wives. Next up is Hairpin Turn by Taylor Adams, and I read No Exit by Taylor Adams, and I really, really, really enjoyed that particular book. So a little bit from the inside cover. From the author of the full throttle thriller No Exit, a riveting new psychological page turner featuring a fierce and unforgettable heroine. So you got that mystery thing going on. Is the person who discovered the body responsible? So you definitely got a mystery going. And Taylor Adams, just going back to No Exit, which was very, very good, with kind of a closed circle trope, and you get to know all the people and you got to figure out what's going on. I'm hoping that Hairpin Bridge is going to be something very similar, but only time will tell. Next up is The Seven Visitations of Sidney Burgess by Andy Marino. And this is a book that I picked up recently. And from an electrifying new voice in horror comes a terrifying tale of possession with a sinister twist. Sidney Burgess has spent years burying her past and building a better life for herself and her young son. A respectable job, a home, and a boyfriend who loves her son and accepts her flaws and all. But when she opens her front door and a masked intruder knocks her briefly unconscious, everything begins to collapse. She wakes in the hospital and tells a harrowing story of escape. The cops tell her a different story because the intruder is now lying dead in her house. As horrific memories of past addictions surface and unnatural darkness starts whispering in her ear, it begins to change into something unimaginable, and the darkness has a terrible craving of its own. So there's a lot going on right here that I thought was kind of interesting. Possession, addiction, a mystery, unconsciousness, dead body, lots going on here. Definitely sounds very interesting. Next up is The Other Woman by Sandy Jones, and this one on the front cover, he loves me, she loves me not. So this one sounded kind of interesting. He loves you, Adam adores Emily. Emily thinks Adam's perfect. the man she thought she'd never meet. But she loves you not. Lurking in the shadows is a rival, a woman who shares a deep bond with the man she loves. Emily chose Adam, but she didn't choose his mother, Pammy. There's nothing a mother wouldn't do for her son, and now Emily is about to find out just how far Pammy will go to get what she wants. Emily, gone forever. I'm digging this one. The Mertons are brutally murdered in the night after an Easter dinner with their 3 adult kids, who of course are devastated. Or are they? So this one is a mystery right there, probably a little bit of a closed circle trope, probably get some backstory about some things that happened in the past that shaped the way things happen in the present and the future. So definitely looking forward to this one, should be a good one. Next up, I move on to my YA/dark academia set of books that I'm looking at here for the month of October. So next up is For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing, and I have read one book by Samantha Downing, and that was He Started It. I do have My Lovely Wife, which they tout on the front cover. I have not read that. I have it as an ebook, but have not read it. So the inside cover, a bold, sneaky thriller set at a prestigious private school, complete with interfering parents, over-eager students, and one teacher who just wants to teach them all a lesson. So definitely excited about that one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to check out this one. Again, a lot of things that I like, the dark academia, boarding school thing, all that stuff, and the mystery, someone trying to teach a lesson, lots going on here, lots to like. Next up is They'll Never Catch Us by Jessica Goodman, and this one sounds very good. And actually, if you look at the cover art there, kind of a bloody shoe right there, and the title in the shoelaces there is kind of an interesting little twist there as well. Now check this one out, because you'll understand why I picked this one up. The Steckler sisters are only a year apart, but they are different as sisters can be. Single-minded, driven Stella keeps to herself. Ellie is no less ambitious, but she has fun with friends and a social life too. The only thing the sisters have in common is cross-country running until Mila Keene comes to town. So the stranger coming to town, changing up the dynamics. Mila was a top runner on her team back home, and at first, Stella and Ellie see her as a threat. But soon, Stella finds herself noticing all the things that they have in common. Mila is smart and strong, somebody Stella can finally connect with. As the two become friends, Stella becomes something she vowed she'd never be: distracted. For her part, Ellie finds herself drawn to Mila's warm, charming personality, and in a moment of weakness, Ellie even shares her darkest secret with Mila. And things begin to heat up from there. So I am very interested in this, and every time I read the inside cover, I become a little bit more interested in it. Cross country is a sport that's probably not used very often in these types of books, so that makes it a little bit more interesting as well. So definitely excited about this one. A couple of siblings and a newcomer that changes the dynamic intensely, so looking forward to this. Next up is The Girl in the Headlines by Hannah Jane, and it also says, they said she did it, she doesn't remember. The headlines say she killed her family. The truth, she doesn't remember. Andrea McNulty goes to sleep on her 18th birthday with a near-perfect life. She's a high school field hockey star, a doted-upon big sister, the beloved daughter of 2 happy parents. But when she wakes up in a motel room the next morning, unable to remember what happened the previous night and covered in blood, Andy is a fugitive. So we've kind of heard this a little bit before. Very interesting type of a story, a mystery that has to be unraveled to bring a sense of justice and to keep yourself from getting the kind of justice that you do not want to get. So definitely looking forward to reading The Girl in the Headlines. And the last 2 on the list, and we're going to stick with the prep school thing, or should I say prep school theme going here. And I am finally going to read, I know I keep saying it, The Ivies by Alexa Dunn. I've talked about this before. Definitely excited about reading this one. And then one of my newest joints that I picked up that I'm excited about is The Castle School for Troubled Girls, and this one is by Alyssa Scheinmel, and I'm excited about this one. The Castle School is not what Mariah expected. When Mariah Dreyfuss's parents announced that they're sending her to an all-girls boarding school deep in the Maine woods, she isn't fooled. She knows her parents are punishing her. She's been too much trouble since her best friend Nathan died, and for a while before that. At the castle school, isolated from the rest of the world, she will be expected to pour her heart out to the odd headmaster, Dr. Prince. But she isn't interested in getting over Nathan's death or befriending her fellow students. On her first night there, she hears distant music. On her second, she discovers the lock on her door is broken. On her first night there, Mariah discovers distant music. On her second, she discovers her lock on her window is broken. On her third, she and her roommate venture outside and learn that they are not isolated after all. There's another very different castle school nearby, this one filled with boys whose parents sent them away too. She is convinced that the castle school and the doctors who run them are hiding something, but exploring the schools will force her to confront her overwhelming grief and the real reasons her parents sent her away. So, a couple of really good ones right here that I'm definitely excited about jumping into. Dark Academia, what's not to love? So, could be a busy month of October, some scary stories, some thrillers, some action. Definitely excited about getting going with some of these books. We'll see what happens. I got a lot on my plate that I could be looking at. Don't have to eat everything on the plate, but I definitely will consider everything on the plate as I move through the month of October.